Yes everyone, thanks for tuning into another video. As always, it's a pleasure. And as always, if you get any value from the video, please feel free to like and subscribe. And if you've got any thoughts, questions, ideas or comments or anything similar, please leave them in the comment section down below and I will get back to you. And in today's video, it marks 1 year on being on Humira, or also known as adalimumab. So I feel after a year, it's a good time for me to be able to give a really good and honest review on every level. I've given many other reviews sort of every month or so, just giving people an update on how it's affected my condition, if there's been any issues and things of that nature. But I feel that after a year, that's a good chunk of time to be able to assess everything. So, if this is the first time you're watching one of my videos, then welcome. I've got a condition called psoriatic arthritis, which, if you're not sure what it is, it's an inflammatory arthritic condition. And I started first getting symptoms in the summer of 2022, so in July, August. But by the end of 2022, beginning of 2023, it was getting quite bad. So what were my symptoms? I was getting really swollen fingers. So you can still see, this is on my right hand. This one and this one are I'd say I'm in remission now, but these ones are still don't look great. They were way worse. I'm going to try and put some pictures into this video so you can see, but fingers were really swollen. Toes were swollen. Whole body was just really inflamed. The way I like to describe it to people in terms of how my body felt is this. Let's say you haven't done any exercise for a long period of time and you go to the gym on a Tuesday and you absolutely hammer the gym, and then in the evening you go and play football. You wake up on Wednesday, so of course your body's going to be all fatigued. Then on the Wednesday you bump into someone you don't like and 10 of their friends and they beat you up. Then how would you feel on the Thursday? That's how I used to feel. Like everything was just difficult. I was stiff. To do sort of basic tasks was getting difficult, especially after about 9 months of displaying symptoms. There was a couple of times where I woke up in the morning and I literally couldn't move my fingers. There was one time specifically, and I had to do this with my chin to get the movement through my fingers. I drive a scooter, a moped, a motorbike to work. And I remember doing this and thinking, I'm not going to be able to get to work on time. And I can take pain. Honestly, I'm not someone who makes a big fuss out of physical pain, mental pain maybe sometimes, but physical pain, I can take it. And I'll be honest, I was struggling. Walking down the stairs would be really challenging. It was clear to see I was in pain. Now, obviously I managed, right? You always get through somehow, but God, I look back on the constant pain I had to endure, and it was pretty extreme. It was, I have to say, without sounding arrogant, I'm quite proud of myself for the way that I dealt with it. But that was just to give you an insight into my symptoms. I had really bad plantar fasciitis as well in both feet. That was really painful. Fingers were swollen. Overall systemic inflammation. It was clear to see I was in pain. I couldn't run. I couldn't really lift weights at the gym. I could do really basic exercises, but it was difficult. I couldn't practice yoga because I couldn't tuck my toes under to come into a downward dog. Just anything like that was out of the question. I could do it, but it was really difficult and hard for me. I'm a personal trainer and yoga instructor. That's my living. So obviously fitness is a really important aspect of my life, and that got taken away from me. And so as I said, I first started displaying the symptoms in the summer of 2022. May 23, I started taking methotrexate. That helped a little bit, but it didn't clear the issue up at all. I was still in pain. My joints were still swollen. It definitely helped. I could start to train a little bit more. There was definitely a clear difference, but I wasn't normal. But now I could function like a person who wasn't in loads of pain all the time. If you met me, you probably wouldn't think anything was wrong. If you met me before I started taking the methotrexate, you'd be like, ooh, this guy's in pain. I remember being in Thailand before I started taking the methotrexate. I went out there for some alternative healing, and I was walking down some stairs and some guy let me go past, and I was like, thanks bro. He's like, no worries man, you're in pain. I thought, man, it's really obvious I'm in pain. Anyway, so those were my symptoms. I just want to give you an indication of how I felt. And, you know, I understand that my symptoms may not be the worst that have ever occurred for psoriatic arthritis, but they're definitely not the mildest. I would say they're probably somewhere in between. And as I said, I'm pretty tough. I can take pain, and they were really hindering my life a lot. And I had to cancel work, and I'm self-employed, so for me to cancel work, it's got to be bad. Anyway, moving forward, I started taking Humira. My first injection, January the 10th, 2024. So it's been a year. And I would say I am pretty much completely normal. Apart from these fingers, especially this one. I can't bend it all the way in, right? But apart from that, I can live a normal life now. I box, I train, I run. You know, this morning I'm in London, it's like -4 degrees. I went and met a friend of mine in the park. We went for a run for 3 kilometers. Yeah, you know, there's a specific pose in yoga. It's called the crow pose. It's kind of an arm balance, and then you can like jump back into a press up position. I'll try and quickly insert a little clip so you can see what I'm talking about. And I remember being in a yoga class once when my pain was bad. I think this might have even been after I've been taking the methotrexate, and you know, this was part of the sequence, and thinking, am I ever going to be able to do that again? And when I went to Istanbul most recently in October, I was in a class, and one of the teachers could see that I practiced a lot, and she did it, and she's like, oh, could you give that a go, Oscar? And I did it, and someone was like, wow. And I was like, whoa, I can do this again. Because I really clearly remember thinking to myself, am I ever going to be able to do that yoga pose again? And now I can. So for me, there's been no downsides. You know, I really hope it stays that way. But I guess you just have to take the risk, right? Because for me, my condition deteriorated pretty quickly. From when I first started displaying symptoms to when I had to take methotrexate, it was pretty rapid. I mean, the pain was getting worse. More of my fingers were swelling up all the time. I also had really bad psoriasis. That was getting really bad, especially, well, on my scalp. The rest of me was okay. But look, the Humira has just put me into remission, you know, and I'm very, very grateful. You know, I am strong, I can lift weights, I feel that I look good. People even comment on my skin. And I don't know if because my body's not constantly inflamed all the time, maybe my skin looks better, but that could be another thing thanks to the Humira. The psoriasis on my scalp has gone, like I said before. If I did this, you would just see bucket loads of flakes falling off my head. In terms of any negatives, there hasn't been any. Now, I get my bloods done right now once every 3 months. There's been no issues with my bloods at all. Another thing that people ask me is, you know, risk of infections, getting sick easier. I'm going to do another video about this, but honestly, I haven't had any problems at all. I will caveat it. The infections, no. Since I've been taking the Humira, I had one sort of, what's it called? Unspecified, like a sort of STI thing, sexually transmitted infection, unspecified urethritis or something like that. I don't know what it was from. All my tests came back negative, but I took antibiotics and that went away. And that was fine. You know, I did do another video on the antibiotics. Being sick, getting sick easier? Not at all. I mean, I haven't even really been sick this year. The caveat is that I really look after myself. I'm a bit of an OCD health freak. I take vitamins, I do cold exposure, I eat well, I train regularly at the gym, but I haven't really got sick, you know, and it's been the winter in London. I work in a school twice a week. I don't really get sick. So that's another, you know, that's a problem that people ask me, or a side effect that I'm aware is potentially problematic, but for me, that hasn't been an issue whatsoever. I just wrote some notes here of some other things. I guess for me, it really has given me the opportunity to have my life back. I can now travel freely. Not that I couldn't travel before, but, you know, in August I was in Colombia, I was in Medellin, and it's probably not a place I would go if I was in loads of pain all the time. Just purely from the fact that it's a bit dodgy out there, right? If you get into a physical confrontation, or you need to run away, or I need to protect myself, I was incapable of doing that, right? And, you know, if you go to certain countries where there's dangers, you need to be a little bit mindful about that sort of stuff. So, you know, I've been traveling this year, which has been fantastic. Everything has really been positive. You know, I really can't say anything bad. Now, I hope it stays that way. Of course, there's always the risk attached to taking these medications, that there can be some potentially life-changing side effects. But I guess for me, the thing is that I had to accept that the way that my condition was deteriorating and progressing was really bad. And if I didn't start taking meds, I mean, saying I'd end up in a wheelchair is kind of extreme, but there's no doubt it was getting really problematic. And that's why I didn't want to take methotrexate. You know, if you're in the UK, the first drug that they usually put you on medication for in an inflammatory arthritic condition is methotrexate. The reason being is that because it's a cheaper medication, they need to see that that doesn't work for you before putting you onto the biologics, which obviously cost the system more money, right? So before I took the methotrexate, I really did everything I could. You know, I went to Thailand for alternative healing, which I actually think helped a little bit, but it didn't take the swelling away in my fingers, which was always my biggest concern. I was really concerned before taking the methotrexate, not so much the Humira, but the methotrexate. I was nervous, but it's all been good. You know, of course, I hope it stays that way. Will it? Only the future knows, right? But you know, right now I'm very grateful for the Humira. I think that if you come across this video and you're thinking about taking it, it's a personal choice. But for me, it was a no-brainer. And sometimes when I'm feeling down or upset, I have to remind myself about where I was about a year and a half, 2 years ago, because it was a bad place physically. You know, I didn't feel good. I don't think I looked good. I was not physically able to participate in all the things I wanted to the level that I wanted to. I was lacking confidence, just in a lot of things, because I pride myself on being a fit and strong person. It's my job, right? Like, it's how I look at myself. I'm a fit, strong man that people can depend on to be courageous. And limping around all the time and that being taken away from me, it really messed with my identity. I was very upset. Also, when I used to meet girls, I used to kind of feel like I look like I'm in pain all the time. It's not exactly the sexiest look. So listen, you know, it's given me my life back. I'm forever grateful. And downsides, absolutely zero. Upsides, as good as it could have been. So I'm just going to leave it there. I think I covered everything. I made some notes here. I just wanted to give an insight of my symptoms before, the problems. I guess my hopes for the future is it just continues. I've got more plans on doing more traveling. I'm going to Mexico next month. You know, I've got fitness goals that I want to achieve. I feel that I can push myself because I don't need to expend so much energy on fighting pain. And I guess that's everything. So look, if you come across this video and you are losing hope, because I know what that feels like, I really do. I really, really do. Just, you know, take it a day at a time, and hopefully if you can get a hold of the right medication, it will put you into remission. Because one thing I can say is that now I don't suffer from pain all the time. You know, I still have mental downs. I've got bipolar. I've mentioned that in other videos. So sometimes I can feel down, but I guess that's just part of life. But it's given me a newfound perspective on life, because you don't know what you have until it's gone sometimes, right? And being able to move freely and without pain, I think is something that a lot of people don't even consider. But now I've experienced it. A lot of the days I wake up and I'm like, man, life's awesome. I'm pain free. Anyway, I'll leave that there. Like I said, if you've got any thoughts or comments, leave them down below. I'll get back to you. And if you've got any ideas for videos you'd like me to tap into, again, message me and I'll get back to you. And wherever you are, I hope you're having a beautiful day or a relaxing evening, and until the next video, take care. Peace.